The bathroom door slammed against cheap tile with a sound that echoed like a gunshot. Sofia Chen's shoulder hit the wall hard enough to leave a bruise. Manager's fingers digging into her arm with bruising force that would leave marks she'd have to hide tomorrow. "You think you can embarrass me in front of customers?" Marcus Vega's breath reeked of cigarette smoke, and the vodka he'd been sipping in his office all shift. "You think you can make me look incompetent?" Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. "I didn't." Sofia's voice came out small, terrified. "The order was wrong when it came from the kitchen. I just told the table I'd fix it. You made me look bad." His grip tightened, nails biting into her skin through the thin fabric of her uniform. "You cost me a tip. You cost the restaurant a good review." This wasn't the first time. For 3 months since Sofia had started working at Carmelo's, Marcus had found reasons to corner her. First, it was just comments about her appearance, her accent, how someone like her should be grateful for this job. Then it escalated to touches that lasted too long, hands on her lower back when he passed behind her, fingers brushing hers when he handed her order tickets. Last week he trapped her in the walk-in cooler, pressed too close, suggested that being nicer to him would make her shifts easier. She'd slipped away, heart hammering, and spent the rest of the night avoiding him. But tonight he'd been drinking. Tonight something in him had snapped. "Marcus, please." Sofia kept her voice steady despite the terror clawing up her throat. "Let me go. I need to get back to my tables." If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. You'll get back when I say you can get back. He stepped closer, backing her further into the corner between the sink and the hand dryer. The fluorescent light above them flickered, casting harsh shadows across his face. "You know what your problem is, Sofia? You don't understand how things work. You don't show respect. I do respect you. You embarrassed me." His free hand came up, fingers tangling in her hair, yanking her head back. Not hard enough to hurt badly, but enough to make his point. "Someone needs to teach you your place." Sofia's eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. She'd learned years ago that showing weakness only made men like Marcus worse. So she breathed through the fear, counted to 5 like her therapist had taught her, and tried to find her voice. "Let go of me," she said quietly. "Please." "Or what?" Marcus laughed, ugly and cruel. "You'll quit? Go ahead. See how many other restaurants want to hire someone with your immigration status." The words hit like a physical blow. Sofia had her. Papers she was legal, had been in New York for 8 years, but Marcus knew exactly which pressure points to push, knew how to make her feel small and powerless and trapped. He released her hair but moved his hand to her throat. Not choking, just resting there. A threat. A reminder of who had power in this moment. Now, his voice dropped lower, more dangerous. "You're going to go back out there and smile at your tables. You're going to make me look good. And at the end of your shift, you and I are going to have a conversation about your attitude. Understand?" Sofia nodded, unable to speak past the hand on her throat and the terror freezing her chest. "Good girl." Marcus patted her cheek condescendingly. "See how easy things are when you cooperate?" He stepped back, adjusting his tie, smoothing his hair like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't just assaulted an employee in the restaurant bathroom. Like this was normal. "Business as usual. Fix your makeup," he said, heading toward the door. "You look like you've been crying. Customers don't want to see that." The door swung open, and Dante Moretti stood in the hallway, perfectly still, dark eyes taking in everything. The tears on Sofia's face. Marcus's hand still raised from touching her cheek. The way she was pressed into the corner, small and terrified and trying not to shake. Dante had been a regular at Carmelo's for 6 months. He came in twice a week, always requested a quiet corner table, always ordered the same thing, linguine alle vongole and a glass of Barolo. He tipped well, spoke little, and had eyes that saw everything. Sofia had served him maybe a dozen times. He was polite, thanked her by name, never made her uncomfortable. But there was something about him that set him apart from other customers. The way other diners avoided his table, the deference the owner showed him on the rare occasions he appeared, the 2 men who always sat one table over, never eating, just watching. She knew what he was. Everyone who worked at Carmelo's knew. Dante Moretti was connected real Mafia, old Italian money and power that ran through New York like veins beneath the city's skin. The kind of man you didn't cross, didn't question, definitely didn't make eye contact with unless he initiated it first. And he'd just witnessed Marcus assaulting her. The temperature in the hallway seemed to drop 10 degrees. Marcus froze in the doorway, recognition and fear flashing across his face. "Mr. Moretti," he stammered, immediately shifting into obsequious courtesy. "I didn't realize you were here tonight. Is everything satisfactory with your meal?" Dante didn't acknowledge him. His eyes remained fixed on Sofia, dark and unreadable. "Are you hurt?" His voice was quiet, almost gentle, but something underneath it made Marcus step back involuntarily. "I'm fine," Sofia said automatically, the lie that had protected her countless times. "Just a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding." Dante repeated the word like he was testing its weight. His gaze finally shifted to Marcus. "Step outside with me." It wasn't a request. Marcus's face went pale. "Sir, I don't know what you think you saw, but outside, now." The command in Dante's voice cut through any protest. Marcus swallowed hard, shot a desperate look at Sofia like this was somehow her fault, then followed Dante toward the back exit. Sofia's legs finally gave out. She sank down against the wall, pressing her palms against her eyes, trying to stop shaking. What had just happened? What was going to happen now? She should leave. Should grab her things and disappear before Marcus came back angrier, before Mr. Moretti decided she was a problem that needed solving, before everything got worse. But her shift wasn't over. She had 3 tables still eating. And she needed this job, needed the money desperately because her younger sister Maya's college tuition was due next month, and the rent was already 2 weeks late, and the pharmacy had started asking questions about when they'd pay down the growing balance on Sofia's medication. So she stood on shaking legs, went to the sink, splashed cold water on her face, fixed her makeup like Marcus had ordered, straightened her uniform, breathed until her hands stopped trembling enough to carry plates without dropping them. Then she pushed open the bathroom door and walked back into the dining room like her world hadn't just tilted on its axis. Outside in the alley behind Carmelo's, Marcus Vega learned what real fear felt like. Dante stood 5 feet away, hands in the pockets of his perfectly tailored suit, expression calm. But his 2 associates, the ones who always sat nearby, had materialized from nowhere. One blocked the alley entrance. The other stood close enough to Marcus that he could feel body heat and menace in equal measure. "Mr. Moretti, please, let me explain." "Explain what?" Dante's voice remained quiet, conversational. Somehow, that was more terrifying than if he'd been shouting. "Explain why I just watched you assault an employee? Explain the hand on her throat? The tears on her face? It wasn't assault. She's just dramatic. These girls, The man standing next to Marcus moved, just shifted his weight slightly. Marcus's words died in his throat. "I've been coming to this restaurant for 6 months," Dante continued. "The young woman who just served me, Sofia, she's never been anything but professional. Polite, competent." His eyes, flat and cold, fixed on Marcus. "You, on the other hand, I've watched get progressively more drunk throughout your evening shifts. Seen how you speak to the staff. Noticed how the female employees flinch when you approach. I'm the manager. I have to maintain discipline. You put your hands on her." The temperature in Dante's voice dropped to absolute 0. "In my experience, managers who need to grab employees by the throat aren't maintaining discipline. They're abusing power." Marcus's bladder suddenly felt very full. He'd heard stories about Dante Moretti. Everyone in this part of Brooklyn had heard stories. Bodies that disappeared, businesses that burned, people who crossed the Moretti family and were never seen again. "It won't happen again," Marcus said desperately. "I swear. I'll apologize. I'll never touch her again. Please, Mr. Moretti, I have a family. So does Sofia." Dante pulled out his phone, typed something with his thumbs. "A younger sister, Maya, 17, attends Brooklyn Tech. Very bright, apparently. Sofia works 3 jobs to keep her in school and put food on the table." The casual display of knowledge was its own kind of threat. He'd had Sofia investigated, probably in the 10 minutes since witnessing the assault. That's how much power Dante Moretti wielded. Information materialized at his command. "You're going to resign," Dante said calmly. "Tonight, effective immediately. You're going to tell the owner you've accepted another position. You will not ask for severance. You will not return to this establishment. And you will never, under any circumstances, contact Sofia Chen again. But I need this job. You should have considered that before you put hands on someone under my protection." Marcus's blood turned to ice. Under your protection? But I didn't know. You didn't need to know. Dante's expression could have been carved from stone. You just needed to be a decent human being. Since you've proven yourself incapable of that, you're done here. One of Dante's men handed Marcus a pen and paper. The message was clear. With shaking hands, Marcus wrote out his resignation. Brief. No explanation. Just effective immediately and his scrawled signature. Good. Dante pocketed the letter. Now leave. If I hear you've bothered Sofia, or any other employee anywhere, we'll have another conversation. And next time, it won't be in an alley with witnesses nearby. Marcus didn't need to be told twice. He practically ran from the alley, nearly tripping over his own feet in his haste to escape. After he disappeared around the corner, Dante turned to his men. Make sure he actually leaves, and have someone check his background. I want to know if there are other victims, other women he's done this to. On it, boss. The taller man pulled out his phone. Dante stood in the alley for a moment longer, the adrenaline of controlled rage still humming through his veins. He'd been in the middle of his meal when he'd heard raised voices from the back hallway, had risen from his table to investigate old instincts, constant vigilance, and arrived just in time to see Marcus Vega's hand on Sofia's throat. Something in him had snapped. Not the cold calculation he usually employed. Something hotter, more personal. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. He'd watched Sofia for months. Not in a predatory way, just noticed her. How she moved efficiently through the dining room, always aware of her surroundings. How she smiled at customers' genuine warmth that didn't extend to the management. How she held herself with quiet dignity, despite the cheap uniform and the exhaustion that sometimes shadowed her eyes. She'd been kind to him. Remembered how he liked his water still, no ice, with lemon. Never pushed conversation but responded warmly when he initiated it. Treated him like a person, not a monster or a myth. And tonight he'd seen her terrified, small, trapped. Dante Moretti had done terrible things in his life. Violence came with the territory of leading one of New York's most powerful crime families. But he had rules. Lines he didn't cross. You didn't hurt women. You didn't abuse people weaker than you. And you sure as hell didn't assault your employees and expect no consequences. He pulled out his phone, made another call. Vincent, I need you to do something for me. His consigliere answered immediately. What do you need? Find out everything about Carmelo's restaurant in Brooklyn. Who owns it? What their financial situation is? Whether they're for sale. There was a pause. Dante, what's going on? Someone made a mistake tonight. A manager put his hands on one of the waitresses. I handled the immediate problem, but I want to make sure it doesn't happen again. Vincent's voice carried understanding. You want to buy the restaurant. I want to ensure the employees are protected. Proper management, appropriate policies. If that requires purchasing the establishment, then that's what we'll do. Understood. I'll have information by tomorrow morning. Dante ended the call and headed back inside. His linguine was probably cold now. He didn't care. He needed to make sure Sofia was all right. Needed to see with his own eyes that she'd survived this intact. And then he needed to figure out what the hell he was going to do about the unexpected surge of protectiveness that had taken root in his chest. Because Dante Moretti didn't get attached, didn't let anyone close enough to matter. Had learned through blood and loss that caring about people made you vulnerable. But somewhere over 6 months of Tuesday and Friday dinners, Sofia Chen had slipped past his defenses without even trying. And tonight had proven something he'd suspected but refused to acknowledge. He wasn't going to let anyone hurt her. Not Marcus Vega. Not anyone. She was under his protection now, whether she knew it yet or not. Sofia made it through the rest of her shift on autopilot, smiled at customers, refilled water glasses, cleared plates with mechanical precision. Her hands had finally stopped shaking, but her mind kept replaying the bathroom scene on an endless loop. Marcus never came back inside. At 10:47 p.m., the owner, Mr. Benedetti, a heavy-set man in his 60s who usually stayed in his office, appeared in the dining room. His face was flushed, expression troubled. He called an impromptu staff meeting, gathering the servers and kitchen crew near the bar. Marcus has resigned, he announced without preamble. Effective immediately. Personal reasons. I'll be managing the floor myself until we hire a replacement. Shocked silence rippled through the staff. Then Gabriella, one of the other waitresses, caught Sofia's eye with a knowing look. Gabriella had worked here for 3 years. She'd been on the receiving end of Marcus's harassment long before Sofia arrived. Good riddance, Gabriella muttered under her breath. Mr. Benedetti cleared his throat. In light of recent events, I'm also implementing new policies. Harassment of any kind will result in immediate termination. Anyone who feels unsafe should come directly to me. No more tolerating inappropriate behavior from management or staff. Sofia felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them back quickly. This was what she'd wanted for months. Marcus gone, policies that protect them. But the timing was too coincidental, too perfect. This was Mr. Moretti's doing. Had to be. After the meeting dispersed, Sofia finished her closing duties in a daze, counted her tips $127, better than usual, and changed out of her uniform in the small staff bathroom. She deliberately avoided the one where Marcus had cornered her. Might never use that one again. When she emerged into the dining room at 11:30, most of the lights were off. The kitchen crew had left. Gabriella waved goodbye, heading out the front entrance. Sofia grabbed her jacket and purse from her locker, then hesitated. Mr. Moretti's usual corner table was empty now, the place setting cleared away. He'd left at some point during the evening. She'd been too focused on not falling apart to notice when. She should be relieved, should just go home, forget this night ever happened, move on with her life. Instead, she found herself approaching Mr. Benedetti, who was counting the register at the bar. Mr. Benedetti? Her voice came out smaller than she'd intended. What Marcus did tonight. Did someone tell you about it? The owner looked up, his expression carefully neutral. Let's just say I received information that made it clear Marcus was no longer suitable for his position. I should have addressed the situation sooner. For that, I apologize. Did Mr. Moretti? Sofia. Mr. Benedetti's tone was gentle but firm. Sometimes it's better not to ask questions. Just be grateful for the outcome. She nodded slowly. In New York, in neighborhoods like this, you learned quickly when to stop digging, when to accept good fortune without interrogating its source. Thank you, she said quietly, for the new policies, for everything. Thank you for staying professional tonight despite difficult circumstances. He returned to counting bills. Get home safe. See you Thursday. Sofia pushed through the front door into the November cold. The street was quiet at this hour. Most businesses closed. Only a few bars still lit up further down the block. She pulled her jacket tighter and started walking toward the subway station 3 blocks away. She made it half a block before she noticed the car. A black Lincoln Town car, idling at the curb directly in her path. The back window rolled down smoothly, and Dante Moretti's face appeared in the opening. Sofia. His voice carried across the empty sidewalk. Get in, I'll drive you home. Every self-preservation instinct she possessed screamed at her to refuse. To keep walking. To not get in a car with a man she knew was dangerous, no matter how polite he'd always been. But he'd saved her tonight. Had made Marcus disappear. Had changed restaurant policy with a single conversation. Had wielded power on her behalf without her even asking. And underneath the fear, underneath the rational voice warning her to run, was curiosity. And something else. Something that felt dangerously like gratitude. Sofia approached the car slowly. The back door, opened from inside, pushed by Dante's hand. She could see him clearly now in the dim interior light. Dark suit, white shirt open at the collar, dark hair slightly disheveled, like he'd run his hands through it. Those watchful eyes that seemed to see everything. I can take the subway, she said, even as her feet carried her closer. It's not far. It's nearly midnight. The subway isn't safe at this hour. I take it every night. Not tonight. It wasn't a command exactly, but it wasn't a request either. Please, let me make sure you get home safely. Sofia looked up and down the empty street, weighed her options, then made a decision that would change everything. She got in the car. The interior smelled like leather and expensive cologne. Dante sat on the far side of the back seat, giving her space. The driver, one of the men who always accompanied him, didn't turn around, just waited for instructions. Where do you live? Dante asked. Sofia gave an address in Sunset Park. 30 minutes by subway, maybe 20 by car at this time of night. The driver pulled smoothly into traffic. For several blocks, neither of them spoke. Sofia clutched her purse in her lap, hyper-aware of Dante's presence, of how close they were in the confined space. Thank you, she finally said, breaking the silence. For what you did tonight. Marcus is gone because of you, isn't he? Marcus is gone because he assaulted an employee. Dante's tone was matter of fact, I simply ensured the appropriate consequences occurred. Mr. Benedetti implemented new policies. Mr. Benedetti was encouraged to create a safer work environment. It's in everyone's interest. Sofia turned to look at him directly for the first time since getting in the car. Why? Why what? Why did you help me? You don't know me. I'm just your waitress. Something shifted in Dante's expression. For a moment, the careful mask slipped, and she saw something underneath. Something almost vulnerable. You've been serving me twice a week for 6 months, he said quietly. You remember how I like my water. You make conversation when I'm in the mood for it and give me space when I'm not. You've never once treated me with fear or false deference. He paused. You've been kind. That's rare in my world. So you, what? Decided I was worth protecting? I decided that watching a man put his hands on you was unacceptable. His voice hardened slightly. And I have the means to ensure it doesn't happen again. The car turned onto the BQE, city lights streaming past the windows. Sofia processed his words, trying to understand the complexity underneath them. People are going to talk, she said softly. About why Marcus left. About you getting involved. Let them talk. They'll think that we're... She couldn't quite finish the sentence. What? That you're under my protection? Dante's eyes met hers. You are. As of tonight, anyone who touches you answers to me. That's not negotiable. Sofia's breath caught. You can't just decide that. I already did. I don't need protection. I'm not helpless. I never said you were helpless. His tone softened. But everyone needs someone watching their back. Even strong people. Especially strong people. Because they're the ones who try to handle everything alone. The words hit closer than Sofia wanted to admit. She had been handling everything alone. Marcus's harassment, the mounting bills, her sister's tuition, her own untreated anxiety that made some days nearly impossible. Handling it all with gritted teeth and practiced smiles because that's what survivors did. I can't afford to owe you, she said, her voice cracking slightly. Whatever this protection costs, I can't. You don't owe me anything. Dante's interruption was firm. This isn't a transaction, Sofia. I'm not asking for payment or loyalty or anything else. I'm simply ensuring that you're safe. That's all. Nobody does something for nothing, especially not. She gestured vaguely at him, at the car, at everything he represented. Especially not men like me? A ghost of a smile touched his lips. You're right. Usually we don't. But I'm making an exception. Why? The question hung in the air between them. Dante looked at her for a long moment, and Sofia saw something in his eyes that made her heart stutter. Not danger. Not calculation. Something almost tender. Because you deserve better than what happened tonight, he said finally. And because I can provide it. That's reason enough. The car pulled onto her street, a modest block of brownstones and small apartment buildings. Working-class neighborhood, safe enough but worn around the edges. The driver stopped in front of her building, a 3-story walk-up with bars on the ground floor windows. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Sofia reached for the door handle, then hesitated. Will I see you again? At the restaurant? Tuesday and Friday, Dante confirmed. Same as always. Unless you'd prefer I find somewhere else to eat. No. The word came out too quickly. She took a breath. No, it's fine. You can keep coming. I'm glad. He reached into his jacket, pulled out a business card. My private number. If you need anything, if anyone bothers you, if you feel unsafe, if Marcus somehow comes back, you call me. Day or night. Understand? Sofia took the card with trembling fingers. Heavy stock paper, embossed lettering. Simple. Dante Moretti and a phone number. Nothing else. Okay, she whispered. Promise me, Sofia. If anything happens, you call. I promise. She opened the door, stepped out into the cold November air, then turned back. Mr. Moretti? Dante, he corrected gently. You can call me Dante. Dante. His name felt strange on her tongue, intimate. Thank you, really, for everything. He nodded once. Get inside. Lock your door. I'll wait until I see your light come on. Sofia hurried up the steps to her building, fumbled with her keys, pushed through the security door. She climbed 2 flights to her apartment, unlocked the door, and immediately went to the window. The Blacktown car was still there, idling at the curb. She could see Dante's silhouette in the back seat, watching, waiting. She flicked on the living room light. A moment later, the car pulled away, disappearing down the street. Sofia stood at the window for a long time after it vanished, holding the business card, trying to understand what had just happened, trying to process how a normal Tuesday night had transformed into something else entirely. Behind her, her younger sister Maya emerged from the bedroom, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Sof, you okay? You're home late." "I'm fine." Sofia turned away from the window, forced a smile. "Just a weird night. Go back to bed." But she wasn't fine. Fine was a lie she'd told herself for years. Fine was surviving Marcus's harassment in silence, working 3 jobs, pretending the weight of everything wasn't crushing her slowly. Tonight, something had changed. Someone had stepped in. Someone powerful enough to make problems disappear with a phone call. And the terrifying part wasn't that Dante Moretti was dangerous. It was that for the first time in years, Sofia Chen felt protected, safe, and she had no idea what to do with that feeling. Dante returned to his penthouse in Manhattan at 1:15 a.m., mind churning with thoughts he couldn't quite organize. Vincent was waiting in the living room, laptop open, expression knowing. "So?" his consigliere said without preamble. "Tell me about the waitress." "Her name is Sofia Chen." Dante poured himself 2 fingers of scotch, didn't drink it, just held the glass. 26 years old. Came to New York 8 years ago from San Francisco. Works 3 jobs, Carmelo's, weekend shifts at a coffee shop in Park Slope, and freelance bookkeeping for small businesses. Supporting her 17-year-old sister Maya. Parents died in a car accident 4 years ago. Vincent's eyebrows rose. "You had her investigated." "Of course I did." "Before or after you made the restaurant manager resign?" "During." Dante finally took a sip of scotch, let it burn down his throat. "I needed to know if she had anyone else. Anyone who should have been protecting her and wasn't." "And?" "She's alone. Completely alone except for the sister. No family, no boyfriend, no support system, just working herself to exhaustion trying to keep them both afloat." Vincent studied him carefully. "Dante, what are you doing? What do you mean? I mean, you don't get personally involved. You don't drive employees home. You don't buy restaurants to implement better management policies." Vincent closed his laptop. "The last time you cared about someone this much, it was Isabella, and that was 10 years ago." The name hit like a physical blow. Isabella, his fiancée. Dead at 24, because someone had wanted to hurt Dante, and she'd been the easiest target. Shot in their apartment while he was at a meeting. Gone before the ambulance even arrived. "This isn't the same," Dante said tightly. "Isn't it? You saw someone vulnerable, someone good, and decided she needed your protection. That's exactly what happened with Isabella. Sofia isn't involved in the life. She's completely civilian. She doesn't know what I do, doesn't care. She's just a waitress who you've been watching for 6 months, who you made an exception for, who you're already thinking about in ways that aren't strictly professional." Vincent's voice softened. "I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying be careful. People around you get hurt, Dante. You know that better than anyone." The truth of it settled in Dante's chest like ice. Vincent was right. Everyone close to him was a target. His father had been gunned down in front of a restaurant when Dante was 19. His mother had died of grief 6 months later. Isabella had been murdered as a message. The Moretti name came with blood. Always had. Always would. Getting close to Sofia would paint a target on her back. Every rival family, every ambitious soldier, every enemy he'd made over 15 years running this organization, they'd all see her as leverage, as a way to hurt him. The smart thing would be to stay away, to let her live her life without the danger his presence brought, to maintain distance and pretend tonight had never happened. But the memory of her face, when Marcus had his hand on her throat, the fear in her eyes, the way she'd tried so hard to be brave, that image was burned into Dante's mind. "I'm not going to pursue her," he said finally. "I'll keep my distance. Just make sure she's safe, that's all." Vincent looked skeptical. "If you say so, I do." Dante finished his scotch, set down the glass. "Now tell me about Carmelo's. Can we buy it?" "Already in motion. Benedetti's been looking to sell for 2 years. His health is failing. We can probably close the deal within a month." "Good. Structure it through one of our legitimate holding companies. Nothing that connects directly to the family. And once we own it, I want a complete management overhaul, better wages, actual security cameras, harassment policies that are enforced. Make it a model workplace. All of this for one waitress. All of this because it's good business. Dante's voice carried finality. And because it's the right thing to do. After Vincent left, Dante stood at his floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Manhattan skyline. Somewhere out there in Brooklyn, Sofia was in her modest apartment, probably unable to sleep, processing everything that had happened. He wondered if she was scared of him, if she understood what his protection meant, if she realized that accepting his help had changed everything between them. Most people feared Dante Moretti. They saw the power, the violence, the reputation built on blood and calculated cruelty. They didn't see the man underneath, the one who'd inherited this life at 19 and never had a choice about it. The one who tried, in small ways, to be better than his father, to draw lines that mattered. Sofia had never looked at him with fear, just with quiet professionalism and genuine kindness, had treated him like a person, not a monster. And tonight, for the first time in 10 years, Dante had felt something other than the cold emptiness that usually filled his chest. He'd felt protective, possessive, alive. That was dangerous. For both of them. But some things, once started, couldn't be stopped. And Dante was beginning to suspect that Sofia Chen was going to change everything, whether he was ready for it or not. His phone buzzed with a message from one of his men. Marcus Vega's background check complete. 2 sexual harassment complaints at previous jobs. Both settled quietly. Want us to dig deeper? Dante's jaw tightened. Yes, every detail. And find out if there are other victims who didn't report. I want a complete picture. Because if Marcus had done this before, if there were other women he'd hurt, other Sofias who hadn't had someone powerful enough to stop him, Dante was going to make sure he never had the opportunity again. Some men needed to learn that there were consequences. That not everyone was unprotected. That sometimes the shadows had teeth. And Dante Moretti had very sharp teeth indeed. Sofia didn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the night on an endless loop. The bathroom, Marcus's hands, the terror. Then Dante appearing like something from a movie, calm and controlled and absolutely certain. You're under my protection now. What did that even mean? In practical terms, in her actual life, what had changed? Everything. Nothing. She didn't know. At 3 a.m., she gave up on sleep and made tea, sat at the small kitchen, table with Dante's business card in front of her, the embossed numbers catching the light. She could call him right now. Test whether he'd meant what he said about day or night. See if this protection was real or just words spoken in the heat of the moment. But she didn't. Because calling him would mean acknowledging that she needed help. That she couldn't handle everything alone. And Sofia had built her entire identity around being strong enough, tough enough, resilient enough to survive anything. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. Except tonight had proven she wasn't invincible. Tonight had shown her exactly how close she'd been to something terrible happening. If Dante hadn't been there. She pushed the thought away. He had been there. That's what mattered. Maya appeared in the doorway, bleary-eyed and worried. Sof, it's 3 a.m. What's going? Couldn't sleep. Sofia managed to smile. Sorry if I woke you. You didn't. Maya slid into the chair across from her, pulled her knees up to her chest. At 17, she looked younger, all limbs and wide eyes, and trust that the world would be kind. Sofia worked 3 jobs to keep that innocence intact. Something happened tonight. I can tell. Just work drama. It's handled. Was it that asshole manager? Marcus? Sofia's head snapped up. How do you know about Marcus? Sof, you've come home crying twice in the past month. And last week you had bruises on your arm. Maya's expression was far too knowing. I'm not stupid. I know he's been bothering you. Shame and love warred in Sofia's chest. She'd tried so hard to protect Maya from this, to keep her safe and innocent and unburdened by the ugliness of their reality. He's gone, Sofia said quietly. Resign tonight. It's over. How'd you manage that? I didn't. She touched the business card, considered her next words. Carefully. Someone helped. Someone? A customer. A regular. He saw what was happening and intervened. Maya's eyes narrowed. What kind of customer has that kind of power? The complicated kind. Sofia met her sister's gaze. Maya, I need you to promise me something. If anyone ever asks about me, about work, about anything unusual, you say you don't know. Understand? You're scaring me. I'm being careful. There's a difference." Sofia reached across the table, squeezed her sister's hand. "The man who helped me tonight, he's powerful, connected, and he's decided I'm under his protection. That means we need to be smart, careful about who we talk to and what we say." "Is he Mafia?" Maya whispered the word like it might summon demons. Sofia didn't answer, didn't need to. Her silence said everything. "Jesus, Soph." Maya pulled her hand back. "You can't get involved with people like that. It's dangerous. I'm not involved. He's just looking out for me. That's all. That's not how it works with those people. They don't do favors for free. He's going to want something." "He said he doesn't." "And you believe him?" "Did she?" Sofia looked at the business card again, remembered the look in Dante's eyes when he told her she was under his protection. Not calculation, not demand, something almost reverent. "I think he's telling the truth," she said slowly. "I think he helped because he could, because it was the right thing to do, not because he wants anything from me. But what if you're wrong?" That was the question, wasn't it? What if she'd misjudged? What if accepting Dante's help came with strings she couldn't see yet? What if protection transformed into possession? "Then I'll handle it," Sofia said with more confidence than she felt. "But right now, Maya, Marcus is gone. The restaurant is implementing new policies. I'm safer than I was yesterday. That has to be enough." Maya didn't look convinced, but she nodded. "Just promise me you'll be careful. Promise me you won't let some mafia guy drag you into his world." "I promise." Another lie. Because Sofia could feel it already, the gravity of Dante Moretti's orbit, pulling her in. The way his protection felt like both shield and cage. The dangerous curiosity about who he really was beneath the reputation. She was already being dragged. Question was whether she'd fight it or let herself fall. After Maya went back to bed, Sofia sat alone in the kitchen until sunrise, watching the city wake up outside her window, holding a business card that felt heavier than it should, and wondering when, not if, but when she'd need to use it. Because men like Dante Moretti didn't offer protection without reason, didn't get involved in the lives of waitresses they barely knew unless something deeper was happening. He'd said she'd been kind to him, that it was rare in his world, but Sofia suspected the truth was more complicated. That somewhere over 6 months of linguine and Barolo, and small conversations and careful distance, something had shifted. Some connection had formed that neither of them had acknowledged. Until tonight. Until Marcus had forced Dante's hand and given him an excuse to do what he'd maybe wanted to do all along. Protect her. Claim her. Keep her safe in his dangerous, violent world. Sofia should be terrified. Should pack up Maya and disappear before this situation escalated into something neither of them could control. Instead, she found herself looking forward to Tuesday, to seeing Dante walk through Carmelo's door with his quiet confidence and watchful eyes, to understanding what this new reality between them actually meant, because for better or worse, her life had just become infinitely more complicated, and some part of her, the part that was so tired of carrying everything alone, was almost grateful for it. OK Tuesday arrived with freezing rain that turned Brooklyn streets into sheets of ice. Sofia dressed carefully for her shift black, the pants without stains, her best white blouse, hair pulled back in a neat bun. She told herself the extra effort had nothing to do with knowing Dante would be there tonight. It was a lie, but a comforting one. The restaurant felt different without Marcus. Lighter somehow, like someone had opened windows and let out air that had gone stale and toxic. Mr. Benedetti worked the floor himself, clumsy but genuinely trying. He'd hired a new manager, a woman named Patricia, who'd worked in restaurant management for 20 years and had exactly zero tolerance for harassment. "You look nervous," Gabriella observed as they set up their stations before opening. "It's just another Tuesday." "I know." Sofia straightened already straight silverware. "I'm fine. He's coming tonight, isn't he? Your guardian angel?" Sofia's head snapped up. "What?" "Come on, Soph. The whole staff knows. Mr. Moretti witnesses Marcus cornering you, and suddenly Marcus is gone and we've got new policies and everything's different." Gabriella's expression was knowing. "Word travels fast in this neighborhood. People are saying you're under his protection now." Sofia's stomach dropped. It's not like that. I'm not judging. Honestly, good for you. Someone finally stood up for us. I just hope you know what you're getting into." "I'm not getting into anything. He's just a customer who..." "Sofia." Gabriella's voice was gentle. Men like Dante Moretti don't get personally involved for no reason. Whatever's happening between you two, just be careful. These people play for keeps. Before Sofia could respond, the front door opened. Her breath caught, but it wasn't Dante. Just early customers, a couple celebrating an anniversary. Sofia spent the next 2 hours in a state of hyper-awareness, tracking every person who walked through the door. By 7:30, she'd convinced herself he wasn't coming, that maybe their conversation had been a one-time thing, that he'd moved on and forgotten about the waitress he'd briefly protected. Then at 7:47, he walked in. Same dark suit, same quiet confidence, same 2 men who took the table adjacent to his. But something was different about the way he looked at her. More direct, less carefully neutral. Sofia approached his table with practiced professionalism, menu in hand even though he never needed it. "Good evening, Mr. Moretti. Your usual corner table. Please." His eyes met hers, searching. "And Sofia? It's Dante. I thought we established that." Heat crept up her neck. "Dante. Right. Can I start you with still water? No ice? With lemon?" The ghost of a smile touched his lips. "You remember. It's my job to remember. Is it?" The question carried weight she couldn't quite interpret. "Or do you just pay attention?" Sofia didn't know how to answer that, so she escaped to get his water, heart hammering against her ribs for reasons she didn't want to examine. The dinner service proceeded normally on the surface. Dante ordered his linguine alla vongole and Barolo, made small talk when she came to check on him, thanked her politely when she refilled his wine. But underneath the normalcy, tension hummed. Every interaction felt charged. Every time their eyes met, Sofia felt like he was asking a question she didn't know how to answer. At 9:15, during a lull between courses, Dante gestured her over. "Sit with me for a moment. I'm working. The dining room is half empty. Take a break." It was phrased as a suggestion, but his tone made it clear he expected compliance. Sofia glanced at Mr. Benedetti, who nodded permission. She slid into the chair across from Dante, acutely aware of how many people were watching, how many assumptions were being made. "How have you been?" Dante asked quietly. "Since Friday." "Fine. Good. The new manager is much better. More professional." She was babbling, stopped herself with effort. "Thank you for that. For making it happen." "You don't need to thank me." "I do, though. You changed my entire work environment with a single conversation. That's not nothing." Dante leaned back slightly, studying her. "Has anyone bothered you? Marcus or anyone else?" "No. It's been quiet." "Good." He pulled out an envelope from his jacket, set it on the table between them. "This is for you." Sofia stared at it like it might explode. "What is it?" "Open it." With shaking hands, she lifted the envelope flap. Inside was a check, made out to her, for $50,000. Her vision blurred. "I can't accept this. It's not a gift. It's payment." "For what?" "I haven't done anything. You've worked 3 jobs for years to support yourself and your sister. You've survived harassment and financial strain with dignity. Consider this compensation for damages. For what Marcus put you through. For the wages you should have been earning all along." Sofia pushed the envelope back across the table. "This is too much. I can't. Your sister's tuition is due next month." Dante's voice was matter of fact. "You're behind on rent. You have medical bills piling up. This covers all of it with enough left over to let you quit 2 of your 3 jobs. To actually breathe for the first time in years." Tears burned behind Sofia's eyes. "How do you know all that?" "I make it my business to know." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I'm going to give." His expression softened slightly. "Sofia, you need help. Let me provide it. No strings attached. No expectations. Just help from someone who has the means to give it. People don't do things for free. Especially not people like you. People like me," he repeated softly. "You mean criminals? Monsters? Men who hurt people?" "I didn't say that. You didn't have to." Dante's jaw tightened. "You're right to be cautious. My world is dangerous. Getting close to me puts a target on your back. But I'm not offering closeness, Sofia. I'm offering help. There's a difference." "Is there?" She met his eyes directly. "Because it feels like you're pulling me into your orbit. Like accepting this makes me yours. Somehow." The word hung between them. Yours. Possessive and intimate, and far too honest. "You're not mine," Dante said quietly. But something in his eyes contradicted the words. You're under my protection. That's different. How? Protection means I ensure your safety, that no one hurts you, that you have resources when you need them. It doesn't mean I own you or control you or expect anything in return. He paused. But I won't lie and say I don't care what happens to you. I do. More than I probably should. Sofia's breath caught. The honesty in his voice was unexpected, disarming. Why? She whispered. Why me? You don't even know me. I know you remember how customers take their water. I know you work yourself to exhaustion for your sister. I know you're kind to people who don't deserve it, and strong when everything is falling apart. His voice dropped lower. I know that watching someone hurt you made me angrier than I've been in years. That's enough. The restaurant felt very far away suddenly, like they were in a bubble, separate from the world. Just two people speaking truths they'd kept hidden. I'm scared, Sofia admitted. Of this. Of you. Of what accepting help means. Good. Dante's expression was serious. Fear keeps you careful, keeps you alive. But Sofia, I need you to understand something. Whether you take the money or not, you're still under my protection. That doesn't change. I'm not going away. I'm not letting anyone hurt you again. You can accept that and make your life easier, or you can fight it and struggle unnecessarily. But the protection remains either way. It was the most honest thing anyone had ever said to her. No false promises, no pretense that she had complete control. Just the truth, laid bare. Sofia looked at the envelope, at the check that could solve every financial problem crushing her, at the man offering it with no apparent expectation of repayment. She thought about Maya's tuition, about the medical bills, about the exhaustion that had become so constant, she'd forgotten what it felt like to not be tired. If I take this, she said slowly, I need boundaries. I need to know what you expect. I expect nothing. That's not realistic. Dante considered for a moment. All right, I expect honesty. If someone threatens you, you tell me. If you need help, you ask for it. If at any point this arrangement makes you uncomfortable, you say so, and we adjust. That's it. No obligations beyond that. And if I want to stop working here, move somewhere else, live my life without your protection, pain flickered across his face, quickly suppressed. Then you do that. I don't own you, Sofia. I'm not trying to trap you. I'm trying to help you. She studied him for a long moment, searching for deception or hidden agenda, but all she saw was sincerity. And something else. Something that looked almost like loneliness. Dante Moretti was powerful, wealthy, feared. But sitting across from her in a half-empty restaurant, he looked like a man desperately hoping she'd let him do this one good thing. Sofia picked up the envelope. Okay. Relief transformed his expression. Okay? I'll accept the help. With boundaries. And honesty, and the understanding that if this becomes something I can't handle, I walk away. Deal. He extended his hand across the table. She took it. His grip was warm and firm, and sent electricity up her arm. They held on a moment too long, neither wanting to be the first to let go. Thank you, Sofia said softly. For everything. For seeing me. For helping. For caring, I guess. You don't need to thank me for caring. That's not something you do on command. Dante released her hand reluctantly. It just happens. Despite every reason, it shouldn't. Before Sofia could respond, Gabriella appeared with Dante's entree. The moment shattered, returning them to their roles. Customer and waitress. Protected and protector. Nothing more. But Sofia felt the check burning through the envelope in her pocket. Felt the weight of Dante's attention like a physical presence. Felt the terrifying, exhilarating sensation of her life, tilting toward something she didn't fully understand. She finished her shift in a daze. Dante left at his usual time, generous tip, polite goodbye. But his eyes lingered on her a moment too long, promising without words that this wasn't over. That whatever had started between them was just beginning. At midnight, Sofia walked home in the freezing rain, clutching an envelope worth $50,000, and let herself admit the truth she'd been avoiding. She was falling for Dante Moretti, not because of the money or the protection or the power, because of the way he looked at her like she mattered, like she was worth protecting, like she was more than just another person struggling to survive in New York. It was dangerous, probably stupid, definitely complicated, but for The first time in 4 years since her parents died, and she'd become responsible for everything. Sofia felt like she could breathe. And that was worth almost any risk. The next 3 weeks passed in a rhythm that felt almost normal. Dante came to Carmelo's twice a week like clockwork. Always polite, always generous, always watching Sofia with those dark eyes that saw too much. They talked more now. Small conversations during quiet moments. He asked about Maya, about her bookkeeping clients, about whether she'd quit her other jobs yet. She asked about his wine preferences, about his travels, about carefully neutral topics that let her learn him without venturing into dangerous territory. She didn't ask about his work, didn't want to know the details of what he did. That was the line she drew. Accept the protection, accept the help, but don't get involved in the darkness. Dante seemed to respect that. Never mentioned business, never brought his world into their conversations, just existed as a man who liked good food and better wine, and found her company worth seeking out. Sofia deposited the check, paid Maya's tuition in full, cleared the medical bills, gave notice at the coffee shop and the freelance bookkeeping service. For the first time since their parents died, she worked only one job and still had money left over. The relief was overwhelming. She cried the first morning she woke up without crushing anxiety about bills. Cried again when Maya hugged her and thanked her for everything she'd sacrificed. The money changed their lives, but it didn't change the complicated feeling growing in Sofia's chest every time Dante walked through the restaurant door. She was falling, had already fallen, was just waiting to hit the ground. The crash came on a Wednesday. Sofia was closing up Carmelo's, alone except for Patricia doing paperwork in the office. Most of the staff had left. The dining room was dark except for emergency lighting and the glow from the kitchen. She was counting out her tips at the bar when the front door exploded inward. 3 men stormed inside, faces covered with ski masks, weapons drawn. Sofia froze, terror locking her muscles. "Where is she?" One of them barked in accented English. Russian. Her brain supplied uselessly. The Moretti whore. Where? They were here for her. Because of Dante. Because someone had decided that hurting her would hurt him. Sofia's hand flew to her pocket, to her phone, but before she could pull it out, rough hands grabbed her, yanked her toward the door. "No!" Patricia emerged from the office, face pale. "Leave her alone." One of the men pointed his gun at the manager. "Stay, or die. Your choice." Patricia's hands went up. Sofia saw tears streaming down her face as they dragged her toward the exit. Then the world exploded into violence. Dante's men materialized from nowhere. They must have been watching the restaurant, waiting, 4 of them against 3 Russians, and the outcome was never in doubt. Gunfire shattered the front windows. 1 Russian dropped immediately. Another tried to run, was tackled by a mountain of muscle in a dark suit. The third kept his grip on Sofia, pressed his gun to her temple. "Back off or she dies." Everyone froze. Sofia felt the cold steel against her skin, smelled the gunman's sweat and fear. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. Then Dante walked through the broken door. He moved like violence personified, calm and controlled and absolutely lethal. His suit was immaculate. His hands were empty, but the fury in his eyes could have melted steel. "Let her go." His voice was quiet, conversational, somehow more terrifying than if he'd been shouting. "Fuck you, Moretti. Your protection got her killed. My protection is the only reason you're still breathing." Dante took a step closer. "Last chance. Release her and walk away, or stay and discover why people fear me." The Russian's hand trembled. The gun pressed harder, against Sofia's temple. She whimpered involuntarily and saw something crack in Dante's expression. "Please," she whispered, not sure who she was begging, the Russian or Dante or God. "Please." Dante's eyes met hers. For 1 second she saw past the danger to the man underneath, saw the terror he was fighting to control, saw how much seeing her hurt was destroying him. Then he moved. It happened too fast for Sofia to track. One moment the gun was at her head. The next, Dante had somehow closed the distance, twisted the Russian's arm with surgical precision, and stripped the weapon away. The Russian screamed. The sound cut off abruptly when Dante's fist connected with his jaw. The man crumpled. Dante caught Sofia before she could fall, pulled her against his chest with one arm, while the other still held the confiscated gun. She collapsed into him, shaking so violently her teeth chattered. "I've got you," Dante murmured into her hair. "You're safe. I've got you." His men finished, securing the other Russians. Zip ties. Efficient movements. Complete control. Within 2 minutes, all 3 attackers were restrained and being dragged toward a van that had appeared outside. "Take them to the warehouse," Dante ordered, never releasing his hold on Sofia. "I'll deal with them later. And get a cleanup crew here now. I want this place looking normal within the hour. Boss." One of his men, Franco, Sofia's terrified brain supply, gestured at her. "She needs a hospital. She's in shock. I'm taking her." Dante finally pulled back enough to look at her face, his hands framing her cheeks with surprising gentleness. "Sofia, look at me. Are you hurt? Did they hurt you?" She shook her head mutely. Couldn't form words yet. Okay, you're okay." He scooped her up like she weighed nothing, carried her toward his car. "Franco, handle the police. Standard story: attempted robbery, quick response. Suspects fled. No one mentioned Sofia or my involvement." "Got it." The drive into Dante's penthouse was a blur. Sofia huddled in the back seat, wrapped in his suit jacket, while he held her and murmured reassurances she couldn't quite process. The terror was fading, leaving behind shock and the delayed realization of how close she'd come to dying. They'd come for her, because of him, because his protection had painted a target on her back exactly like Maya had warned. At his building, Dante carried her through a private entrance, into an elevator that required a key, up to a penthouse that occupied the entire top floor. He set her gently on a leather couch, then crouched in front of her. "Talk to me," he said softly. "Sofia, please. Say something. You were right." Her voice came out hoarse. "Your protection made me a target." Pain lanced across his face. "Yes, they would have killed me. Yes, because of you. Yes." He looked wrecked, destroyed. "Because I was selfish. Because I couldn't stay away from you. Because I made you matter to me. And now, everyone knows it." Sofia stared at him through tears. She didn't remember starting to cry. "What happens now?" "Now I keep you safe. Properly this time. No more half measures. You move in here where I can protect you adequately. 24-hour security, armored car service, complete protection. That's not living. That's prison. That's survival." His hands found hers, gripped tight. "Sofia, they know about you now. Every rival, every enemy. They'll keep coming because hurting you hurts me. The only way to keep you alive is complete protection. I have a sister, a life. I can't just disappear into your penthouse and hide. Then Maya comes too. I'll move her here, get her a private security detail for school, whatever she needs. But I'm not negotiating on this. You're not safe out there anymore." Sofia's mind spun. He was right, she knew he was right. But the thought of giving up her independence, of becoming completely dependent on him, made panic claw up her throat. "This is what I was afraid of," she whispered. "That protection would become possession." "I don't want to possess you," Dante's voice cracked. "I want to keep you alive. There's a difference." "Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, you're making decisions about my life without asking what I want." "What do you want?" The question came out desperate. "Tell me what you want and I'll make it happen. Anything except you going back to that apartment where you're vulnerable. Anything except watching you die because I couldn't keep you safe." The raw emotion in his voice broke something inside Sofia. Because he was right. Because those men had been seconds from killing her. Because without his protection, his real, complete, suffocating protection, she'd be dead already. "I want my sister safe," she said finally. "I want to keep working, keep some part of my normal life. And I want to understand what we are to each other. Because this isn't just protection anymore, Dante. We both know that." He closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, Sofia saw vulnerability she'd never glimpsed before. "You're everything I shouldn't want," he said quietly. "You're civilian, innocent, good. You deserve someone safe, someone who can give you a normal life. Not someone who brings death to your door. That's not what I asked. You want to know what you are to me?" Dante's hands tightened on hers. "You're the first person in 10 years who's made me feel human, who's looked at me like I'm more than the organization I run. You're the reason I've been going to that restaurant twice a week for 6 months when I could eat anywhere in the city. You're the woman I think about when I should be thinking about business. You're mine, Sofia. Not as possession. As something far more dangerous. What's more dangerous than possession? Love." The word fell between them like a bomb. "I'm in love with you. Have been for months. And that's the most dangerous thing I could possibly feel because it makes you a target I can't afford to lose." Sofia's breath stopped. The world tilted. Dante Moretti, dangerous, powerful, untouchable, had just told her he loved her. "You don't even know me," she whispered. "I know enough. I know you're brave and kind and stubborn. I know you take care of everyone except yourself. I know that watching you smile at customers makes my day better. I know that seeing you hurt tonight nearly destroyed me." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "I know that I'll do anything to keep you alive, even if you hate me for it." Sofia looked at him, really looked, saw past the danger to the loneliness underneath, saw a man who'd inherited violence and power but yearned for something real, something good, something that made the darkness bearable. "I don't hate you," she said softly. "I should. This whole situation is insane, but I don't. What do you feel?" The question hung in the air between them, honest and vulnerable and terrifying. Sofia thought about the past 3 weeks, about how her heart jumped every time he walked through the restaurant door, about how his protection had felt like being seen for the first time in years, about how, even now, covered in shock and fear, being close to him felt right. "I feel safe with you," she admitted, "even when you're dangerous. Maybe because you're dangerous. I feel like someone finally cares whether I survive. Like I'm not alone anymore." She paused. "And I feel like I'm falling for you, even though every rational part of me knows I shouldn't." Dante's eyes closed like her words had physically struck him. When he opened them, they shimmered with emotion he didn't try to hide. "I'm going to protect you," he said hoarsely. "With everything I have, every resource, every man, every weapon in my arsenal. You're mine now, Sofia. And what's mine, I keep safe. Even if the danger is because of you? Especially then." She should argue, should maintain independence, should draw boundaries and protect herself from getting too deep. Instead, Sofia leaned forward and kissed him. It was desperate and clumsy and tasted like tears. But Dante responded immediately, his hands tangling in her hair, pulling her closer. The kiss deepened, becoming something more. Not just comfort, but claim. Not just attraction, but acknowledgement of everything they'd been dancing around for months. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. "Stay," he murmured. "Please, not as my prisoner, as my—" He seemed to struggle with the word. "As mine, in whatever way you'll have me." Sofia thought about her apartment, about Maya, about the life she'd built through sheer determination, about how all of it had just become impossibly dangerous. She thought about the check that had changed everything, about Tuesday and Friday dinners, about how Dante had looked at her from the moment they met like she mattered. "I'll stay," she whispered. "But, Dante, if we're doing this, you have to let me in. All the way. No more protecting me from the truth about your world. If I'm yours, you're mine too. That means honesty, even when it's ugly." Something shifted in his expression. Relief and resignation and love so fierce it took her breath away. "Deal," he said. "Complete honesty. Starting now." "Starting now," she echoed. And somewhere in the darkness of New York City, Sofia Chen made a choice that would change everything. She stepped fully into Dante Moretti's world, accepted his protection and his love and all the danger that came with both. It was reckless, possibly stupid, definitely complicated. But for the first time since her parents died, Sofia felt like she'd found home. Not a place, but a person. Someone who'd burn the world down to keep her safe. Someone who looked at her like she was worth protecting. Even if the danger came from him. Even if loving him meant living in the shadows. Even if forever meant learning to survive, in darkness, she'd choose him anyway. Because some love stories started with violence, some ended with blood, and some, the rarest kind, found light in the shadows and called it salvation. Theirs was all three, and Sofia wouldn't change a single moment. Epilogue. 6 months later, Maya graduated from Brooklyn Tech with honors and a full scholarship to Columbia. She lived in the penthouse now too, had adjusted to the security and the wealth and the complicated reality of her sister loving a mafia boss with surprising ease. "At least he's honest," Maya had said, after meeting Dante properly. "And he clearly worships you. That counts for something." Carmelo's became one of the most successful restaurants in Brooklyn after Dante bought it and restructured management. Sofia still worked there 3 shifts a week. Not because she needed to, but because she wanted to maintain some independence, her own choice, her own life, even within the boundaries of protection. The Russians who'd attacked her were never found. Officially, unofficially, Dante had handled them with the efficiency and brutality that made rivals think twice before targeting anything connected to the Moretti family. Sofia learned to live in two worlds. The legitimate facade where she was Dante's girlfriend, beautiful and protected and seemingly normal, and the truth underneath, where she understood exactly what he was and chose to love him anyway. She set boundaries, refused to be involved in family business, made him promise never to bring violence into their home. He agreed to all of it, grateful she'd stayed at all. Some nights Sofia still woke up terrified, remembered the gun at her temple, the near death that had changed everything. But then Dante would pull her close, murmur reassurances in Italian, and hold her until the fear faded. He'd given her safety. She'd given him humanity. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. And in the end, that was enough. Thank you so much for watching until end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel.